Welcome to the Tesla Economist. Please hit the thumbs up and remember to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon. I wanted to discuss a recent Elon interview with Johnna Crider. The interview begins with lots of interesting talk about consciousness and the universe, which Elon sums up as Tesla's goal is to ensure a good future for Earth. Of course, SpaceX is to make life multi-planetary to ensure the long-term survival of consciousness. Two pretty major goals that you might imagine will keep you busy. I'm going to stay focused on the Tesla-related content in the interview, but like I've said in the past, listening to these kind of interviews, I try and understand the person, motives, and self-interest of Elon Musk. What are his objectives? I find understanding Elon helps me decide where I think Tesla is headed the best in bringing it back to the mission. Anyway, Johnna asked Elon about poverty. I think she was mainly talking about what she has seen in the US. Elon points out that said poverty is still a substantially higher living standard than what many had only just 100 years ago. Elon goes on more to talk about the rest of the world and how they don't even have internet and still a lot of illiteracy. And I think this is spot on to what I've been talking about lately with Tesla and robotaxis. I think a lot of you Americans need to look outside of America or even the developed world. Tesla is not making consumer-oriented products. The whole customer is always right mantra doesn't play with Tesla. That's just some marketing cliche. Tesla are offering products of extreme value to consumers. Being absolutely miles ahead of all the competition is good enough. Tesla don't need to bring out plaid Model 3s and super cool consumer products. Tesla need to be making products that reduce carbon emissions the most, of which in my opinion would be more on lines with a cyber robo-van for developing nations. That theory aligns with what Elon is saying. Elon is trying to have the most impact on the world, not just America. So, like I also say, the dedicated robotaxi will likely not be for the US. The US will have plenty of Model 3s and Model Ys because the US is a wealthy nation that can afford to, whereas impoverished nations would be more willing to pool in a robotaxi as it's still a much higher jump in their current living standards, where the American living standard has set a much higher bar. Anyway, I just thought it was good to hear Elon say that, as it does track back to our current thoughts on where this company is headed, which is what we're here to work out. I'm trying not to go over anything we've been told before, but Elon does talk about Tesla insurance and how it will not be discriminatory. It will be proportional to how safe you drive, which is something I hadn't thought about before. Imagine being a young, new driver. Usually your insurance cost is very high, and you usually have less money in that time in your life too. So Tesla offering a very low-cost insurance has got to be appealing to a lot of drivers. Of course, you have to earn this low-cost insurance by being a good driver, and you are thus rewarded. Tesla are literally paying people to behave better in society to reduce deaths. Okay, but more or less up to now, Elon hasn't really said anything new. But then Johnna asks Elon about Tesla getting into the mining industry. Elon clearly states that they do not want to go into mining or refining industries. Elon brings up the refining industry as he thinks that is more where the limitation is in the industry, not the actual physical mining itself. At least this is certainly the case with lithium, and especially when it comes to EV-grade lithium. You have to take the ore that contains lithium and refine it to battery-grade lithium hydroxide or lithium carbonate, and must be extremely pure. Impurities will cause the battery cell to fail, and as we've researched recently, just about all refining and processing of the minerals required for EVs is done in China. So not only is there potentially a bottleneck in the supply chain, as all the processing is also done in China, it is also under the control of one nation that is under a communist regime. But we talk about Tesla's vertical integration, and the next level down for Tesla to go is the refining of the minerals. It doesn't sound like this is a path Elon wants Tesla to head down. You might think, but if Tesla vertically integrate to mines, then they'll save even more on the cost of their vehicles, and eventually the workers can be replaced with robots. Well, possibly. But Tesla doesn't have abundant resources. For Tesla to go into mining or processing, that takes energy away from Tesla, perhaps building another gigafactory. Said gigafactory will likely make more profits than Tesla could ever imagine saving in minerals by processing them. I would also say it would be similar for Tesla and microchips. Tesla don't need to start their own semiconductor fab. Just because Tesla can do something and it may save some money with more vertical integration, it doesn't necessarily mean that they should. Some things just aren't as feasible to do as others. But basically Tesla will do whatever they have to in order to fulfill the mission. If they really have to get into mining, then they will. But it won't be to save money by vertically integrating. It will be simply because the other mines aren't offering enough supply. But ideally, Tesla would rather focus on tasks that no one else can solve. There are only so many talented people to go around. Tesla would rather focus on growth. Elon sums this up by saying, We want to work on the things that accelerate sustainable energy the fastest. I know some of you don't really care about the mission so much, or your mission is just a $5,000 stock price. But either way, to understand the company, you have to understand the mission. So that when you ever wonder, would Tesla do this or would Tesla do that, then you can ask yourself, which would accelerate sustainable energy the fastest? Elon talks about energy storage and brings up his 300 terawatt-hour target for battery storage for the world, which is an average of nearly 40 kilowatt hours per person on the planet. Of course, this includes industry and transport. And Elon goes on to talk about how this is covered by Master Plan Part 3. Now, my opinion on Master Plan Part 3 is that it will be all about scaling to the extreme, and will be about how Tesla is going to get all those minerals out of the ground and into batteries. I don't think anyone has any idea of how large a scale this is. We talk about sizes like 100 miles by 100 miles of solar, and that will be enough solar energy for the entire planet. Or something like 4% of land will be used for energy, which doesn't actually sound that crazy when you think about almost half is used for food. Is it really that absurd to think 1/10 as much land can be used for energy than food? No, not really. Although I do wonder though, it's not just about where the solar farms and batteries are, it's also about where they came from. Perhaps it would be good to get some other numbers, like this mission will also require about another 1,000 squared miles of holes in the ground in the world too. Perhaps to give us some extent as to the total planetary cost. I think there'll be a lot of large lakes in the future though, to fill in all those mines. But this is what Tesla is working on. The company is going to such extremes, it has to be careful not to disrupt too much of the world. Not just the environment though, but also the economics. Tesla will displace a lot of jobs, so much so it's not just about getting customers and profits. It's about trying not to disrupt industry too extreme along the way, and making sure that there's still labour that can participate in the economy. The discussion moves on to the grid and Texas and how batteries can improve it. Elon saying that even without renewables, batteries can load balance the grid. So whenever there are any power spikes, a battery can absorb them. Batteries can smooth the power fluctuations. Tesla's Megapacks and Powerwalls can help level this out, which I'm sure is something you all realised already and have thought about before. I could even do an entire video on how I see the economics of energy with a Tesla Autobidder system. Elon breaks this up into a combination of large batteries at a utility scale, and then at the local level, Powerwalls can collectively stabilise the grid within a neighbourhood. No mention of vehicle to grid. Elon has not officially confirmed that we will be able to sell power from our car batteries into the grid. If it was ever done, it would still have to be done through a Powerwall, but I think it seems obvious to have a massive battery there that could also be helping as a demand or supply buffer for energy. Then they talk about all the attacks Elon and Tesla have been facing, and Elon likes to end with once again explaining just how easy and basic making a concept car is. So much so that pretty much someone at a kindergarten level could make one. They're absolutely moot and irrelevant if they can't go into production. Forget about vehicle designers to make a good looking car, it takes serious engineers, because it's about how it can be produced, much more than how it actually looks. Now, I go on and on about volume production and how important it is, and how important it is to also make a profit if you run a company that plans on surviving for more than 2 more years. But Elon goes into some new specifics. He says Tesla can make a prototype of anything with just 100 people in 6 months. But to get to volume production and try and have the price be affordable as possible, yet still having positive gross margins, that takes 10,000 people, at least 2 years. Elon also says that's 2 to 3 times faster than the rest of the industry. But hang on, Tesla managed to get the Model 3 into volume production in much less time than 2 years. So I'm not entirely sure what he means. Perhaps he's including a lot of the practice they had with the Model S and X. But I think he is saying that even if a competitor was to get to volume production with 10,000 people and take 2 years, that would still be 2 to 3 times faster than the pace that the rest of the industry is currently moving. And perhaps he is implying here that some of these other EV OEMs will hit volume production in a few years' time, if they're still solvent. Just to point out, Tesla is already past volume production. Tesla is into high volume production, which sounds like it might not be achievable by anyone else this decade. Elon goes on to say that he thinks more talented people should go into manufacturing, and too many go into finance and law, because that's where the money is. The finance industry is something like 40% of global profits. The cliche is that Wall Street attracts too many rocket scientists who become quantitative analysts, or quants for short. Hopefully Elon, Tesla and SpaceX are looking like more attractive alternatives for this talent now. Elon eventually says the limiting factor is the rate at which we can increase battery production. Great, because that is exactly what we've also been saying. Alright, they were the highlights I thought were the most interesting to Tesla. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.